Today on Riggo on the Range, wild turkey is on the menu. Join me and my brother Bill as we pursue some tough late-season gobblers in our home state of Kansas. If everything works out as planned, we'll be putting Old Tom on the smoke. Stick around.
Hi, I'm John Riggins. Sports have always been a big part of my life, and I've moved from the football field to the great outdoors. Come with me as I hunt, travel, and invite my celebrity friends along to cook across America. So join us this week for Riggo on the Range.
We're out here on my farm, and I'm here with my brother Bill, and we're doing a little scouting tomorrow morning. We're gonna come out here and set up. We've heard a lot of gobbling going on out here, and Bill, I gotta ask you, back when I bought this farm back in 1974, there wasn't a turkey within, I don't know, 100, 200 miles of here, I would guess. Did you ever think we'd be sitting out here and getting ready to set up on some turkeys?
No, this is all new for me. It's just a great opportunity, and we've been hearing some turkeys, and just in the last 5-10 minutes we've heard 3 or 4 gobblers, so I'm looking forward to the hunt tomorrow.
We spotted a few birds in the cut corn where we planned to hunt, and then seeing a few birds fly to their roost had us feeling pretty good about the morning hunt. Unfortunately, Mother Nature threw us a curveball the next morning because it was cold and rainy, but we figured that being in the blind was still the best place to be. These birds were right where we left them the night before. Several jakes flew down straight across from our setup. Then Old Tom made his way to the field to establish his dominance.
It's the gobbler. Yep.
After making a couple light calls, he finally answered and started heading our way. Finally worked his way to where he could see our setup, but he just didn't like something about it. After standing there for a minute, all of a sudden he takes off. Apparently this coyote heard our calls as well and came in looking for a meal. Wile E. Coyote shows up. And of course, he had heard the calls, saw the decoys, and probably figured there's an easy meal here for me. Of course, we'd have had to give him a little lead for his breakfast, but that's just the way it goes when you get too close to turkey hunters and you mess up their hunt. That afternoon, we set up in a different cut cornfield and had a couple of hens and this nice-looking buck approach our blind, but no gobblers came in. After hunting all day, we'd all worked up a pretty good appetite, and we were very fortunate to have Bill's high school buddy, Bruce Bachman, and his wife, Pam, invite us over for some Kansas steaks.
All righty.
All excellent. These ready for the grill?
We'll be ready shortly.
Very good. Bruce, by the way, this is Pam Bachman. This is Bruce's wife, and Pam did all the hard work. Bruce, you know, he comes in, he's the star of the show, and of course he gets to do the steaks, but as you can see, doesn't look too bad. Let's eat, guys.
It's kind of like getting the pick of the litter.
Coming up next, more spring gobbler action. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Riggo on the Range.
Well, this afternoon's hunt is going to be based on what we discovered this morning, that a lot of birds were using a field right beside my property here, and we feel pretty confident that if we get down there, get set up in our blind, we've got a very good chance to call them into us. So let's see what happens. Come on.
It was the last week of the spring gobbler season in Kansas, and most of the activity seemed to be early in the morning and late in the evening. As the birds started to move where they were going to roost, we found ourselves in the right spot.
We've been in the blind now for about 15, 20 minutes. Got the decoy set up, really looks good. It's a nice little secluded area here, probably a quarter of an acre surrounded by woods. There were gobblers this morning that were tearing it up a little bit west of here. So we're hopeful maybe we'll intercept one tonight going to his roost.
A group of jakes had made their way into range as the lights started to fade. And check this bird out. He's just a little jake and he thinks he belongs on Broadway. Check him out, didn't he? He's getting down. He's getting down. Finally, these jakes had lost their interest and left the field. Knowing we were surrounded by turkeys, we decided to stay till dark. Then, all of a sudden, a big gobbler, and this Tom caught us off guard.
When he first lit, of course we weren't set up. When he first lit, I think I had a good shot at him. Yeah, when he landed.
The next morning, Bill and I decided to split up to cover more ground. He went to the other side of the farm while I went back to the same area. This bird gobbled a couple of times and then flew right down in front of us. But what happened next is unbelievable.
There he is.
That sound you heard was a buzzard landing on the top of our blind. After that, there was no chance this gobbler was coming any closer. And the only thing we could do was watch him as he left the field.
Bill, we both had an interesting, ironic experience this morning as far as hunting turkeys, because we both had turkeys land exactly right beside our decoys. The only problem was they were turkey buzzards. Yeah. What were you thinking when that happened?
Have you ever had that happen? I've never had that happen.
Ours landed on top of the blind to start with. I'm thinking, there was a tom down there, and we got this bird on top of us, and I'm thinking, there's a hen up on top of our blind. And you know, after about, I don't know, 45 seconds, the hen became a turkey buzzard. I'm about ready, somebody shooting me.
Well, I was in the blind, and I had a buzzard come in, and the same thing. As far as it landed and sat there, maybe 5 yards from the decoy, and just sat there.
Well, probably what happened is that the buzzard thought the decoy was another buzzard. And we had that happen to us on Saturday morning when we first started hunting, when those three buzzards, one buzzard landed out in that field, two more sat down beside it. Yep. So that our decoy actually decoyed in a buzzard. And it happened, ironically, in the same morning
Probably, what, 600 yards apart.
After sitting in the blind for about an hour, that tom finally fired up and told us where he was. It was time to put on a couple of moves.
We got a ways to go here.
I saw the tom about 200 yards out in the cornfield, so we decided to put a stalk on him by walking up a drainage ditch that paralleled the field. I snuck out to the edge of the field to find that the gobbler had already made it another 150 yards away from us.
He's got his two hens with him now. If those other two hens weren't there, you'd probably have a chance to go get to sneaking up there right now.
About a minute later, we had to cast our eyes aside as this old tom and his hen, they were getting into it.
We're like biologists. He's been on that bird for some time now. He's done. There he goes. And right back into full regatta. Now when he starts smoking that cigarette, we must have moved.
I started calling to him, and boy, did he get fired up. These late season gobblers would hammer at the calls, but they just wouldn't come in.
We've got a tom down here that's been gobbling for probably the last 45 minutes. We set up about 150, 200 yards from him. We're gonna get a shot, so we put a stalk on, and we're coming around here now. He might be just directly down below us. Here we go. He's over here. Get to the base of some of these trees here. He's moving that way. That's exactly what we wanted to do.
Just as we went to make our final approach, a different tom was standing at the edge of the field, and he was in range of my Ithaca 10 gauge.
It's a gobbler. I got him.
Welcome back to Riggo on the Range. Let's get back to the action on this late season gobbler.
Get to the base of some of these trees here. He's moving that way. That's exactly what
We spent most of the morning getting into position to take a shot at this turkey, but just as I made my final approach, a different tom was standing at the edge of the field.
it's a gobbler. I got him.
Had an opportunity this morning and it didn't pan out. I got a shot probably around 40 yards, maybe a little bit more. I don't think it was any less. And it's kind of interesting about 40 yards, seeing as how that's kind of the holy grail. Figuring out if you got what it takes to play football. They always time you in a 40-yard dash. Well, as a rule, from what I understand, is that you usually try to pattern your gun around 40 yards, because you know that if you've got a decent pattern at 40 yards, anything inside of that, you're going to be in business. So I've got the loads I used this morning, which is some older ammo, and I also happen to purchase some new ammo this afternoon. We're going to compare the two and see what it looks like. All right? Well, it looks like it fuzzed it up pretty good. Well, I don't think it was the ammo, do you?
Doesn't look like it.
This is the last night of the hunt, and things have been going a little tough. I mean, we've been around birds for the past 5 days. We've got opportunities, missed one shot, almost got another shot, which would have been a very happy ending, but so we still got to go back to work. We're going to set up where we have been, where we've seen birds, a possibility maybe, you know, if a jake comes in, we're going to have to shoot at this point. But all in all, it's been a learning experience, and I've had a ton of fun.
Well, that's one way of doing it.
It's double beard. Triple beard.
And stayed there.
John, I'm like, John.
He had his back to us.
Yeah.
He must have not ever saw it.
Check it out. Well, here he is, the fruit of our labor, a tom turkey. Now, not just any tom turkey. This, and I'm told it's very rare, is a triple bearded tom turkey. And he didn't come easy. We put in a hard week of hunting, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, coming back in the afternoons, getting home at 9 or 10. This afternoon, we're down to the last hunt. We come into this field. We've seen turkeys in here all week. I wasn't real hopeful we was gonna get one. We ease into the field. I'm looking off to the left because I'm thinking that's the blind spot. Don't want to spook anything there. This turkey's standing straight ahead of me. Thank God James, the cameraman, was with me. Got lazy, sloppy, whatever you want to call it. He taps me on the shoulder, points. I look, immediately recognize that it's a tom turkey by the big white head, the big body, the dark colors, and I wasted no time in shooting the bird, and it pretty much was dead on arrival. And just really just a magnificent time out here, and I just am so pleased with what turned out. Coming up next, though, it even gets better. We're gonna find out how Tom here goes on the table. We're gonna see what kind of table fare he makes. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Riggo on the Range. After we killed this triple bearded tom, the only thing left to do was put him on the smoker.
All right, guys, here he is. Cousin Tom has been in here marinating all night, or I should say being in a brine. Let's take this thing out. We'll put him down here in the sink, and we're gonna rinse it real well, just to clean everything off. He's got it drained just a little bit. There we go. Excellent. Gosh, what a magnificent animal. Look at this breast on this bird. You have to really be able to appreciate this. Now, this guy didn't have a feed tray in front of him 24/7.
First thing I did was I patted it all dry and then rubbed it down with coarse ground salt and pepper. And then stuffed the cavity with carrots and onions and celery to keep the meat from becoming too dry.
I think everything looks fine here. Let's move him over to this other side here, because now we're going to put on a nice little jacket here made out of cheesecloth. And then I'm going to basically take the brush there and paint it with olive oil. We're just going to take this olive oil here, soak this thing up. Okay, he is ready. Let's go out and check the fire. I pre-started the fire. We want to get that to about 200 degrees if we can, and we want to hold it steady. I'm going to put some hickory chips on there and let the good thing start happening. So let's just see what's going on with that fire. Come on. We're going to smoke the bird, which means we're going to pass indirect heat over the bird almost like you would in an oven. But what we're going to do here is we're going to use some hickory chips that I chopped up this morning. I've got them soaking in water because you don't want them to burn up too quickly. They're going to dry out anyway, but you'll get a little bit more smoke out of them, cause a little bit better smoke, and just gives the turkey that authentic hickory flavor. So we'll get a couple of these chips here, and we'll go over here and we'll put them on the fire. And we're going to have to replenish this from time to time as we check on our birds, so that's no big deal either. If you want to have a lot of nice smoke coming over these birds, and I think this should probably do it. Just anticipated that this bird was probably too big to get on this Weber grill, so we're going to turn him on his side. Lay him in here where the cold, away from the coals as far away as we can get. And that's the one thing when you're cooking whole birds and you're talking about bigger birds, make sure you got a big enough grill. And ours is just enough. Okay, you can feel that heat coming off there pretty well. We're going to open this up. So that's it. Let's go have a glass of wine.
Smoking a wild turkey takes about 5 to 6 hours at a steady temperature of 300 degrees, making it a perfect meal for entertaining guests. My good friend and former teammate Dexter Manley joined me for this great feast.
Well, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Turkey ready to go. Check the thermometer. It's at 170 degrees. Time to pull the bird off. Oh yeah. That don't look too bad. Now these are somewhat unorthodox tools, but I think they'll work. All we gotta do is get this bird off onto the platter. Very nice. All right, let's go in and carve the bird.
To complete the meal, I sauteed some kale greens fresh from the garden and baked potatoes in the oven.
Dex, you want to try a piece of this?
Joe, it tastes like a 44 bird.
Oh yeah, he had my jersey on when I shot him. I felt kind of guilty about it, but I figured he wanted to go along with the gag. Thank you for joining me this week here on Riggle on the Range. It was a pleasure to have you. Listen, wild game, I think when you put it on the table, there's nothing better. Thanks, see you next week.